What's up, everybody, and welcome to the State of Wild, episode 34, a regular YouTube video web series podcast thingy. My name's Meowth, and as usual, I'm joined by CorbettGames. Corbett, how you doing today, dude?
I am doing wonderfully. We got some news. Very happy to talk about it. Let's do it. Let's get into it.
Tons to talk about. I know the episode's coming out maybe a little bit earlier than you guys are normally expecting, but because we had some pretty exciting news that we just literally couldn't wait to talk to you guys about. So if you guys haven't heard, core set, 235 brand new cards for the standard classic set. Not all of them are brand new, but we're going to be talking about a lot of the ones that are new and kind of buffed and changed cards. So it's going to be exciting to talk about. But before we get into all of that, just a reminder to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you guys enjoy our content. It's a free way to support us a lot. All right, so before we dive into everything, Corbett, just initial impressions. Were you happy with the set and the changes that they introduced?
I was so happy. This is pretty much dead on what I was expecting. In terms of like the power level, many of the cards they picked were things that I had decided I would do if I was a dev. So it was very in line with what I wanted, what my expectations were. I've seen a little bit I've actually seen a bit of like reaction both ways, where some people are a little bit surprised at how strong it is, and then other people were like, "Oh my god, why didn't we bring back Lich King?" and things like that. But I really, really like this midpoint. I think this is a very powerful set for what the core set should be, in a good way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is great. I love this set.
100% agree. I think I'm actually very excited. I think I'm going to enjoy playing standard for a little bit, because it's going to actually feel brand new and fresh, which it's going to be exciting to do. So, I mean, you guys might hate to hear me say it, but I think Corbett and I are going to be venturing to standard a little bit once the core set arrives. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive right on in. All right, so the way that we're gonna do this discussion today is we're just gonna go through all 10 classes. I'm gonna go really, really quickly through all of the cards that are in that class's core set, and then we're just gonna talk a little bit about some of the brand new cards and kind of the buffed cards, because those are also playable in Wild, which is also exciting because that's why most of you guys are here. So let's go ahead and dive right on in. Demon Hunter. So Battle Fiend, Crimson Sigil Runner, Chaos Strike, Feast of Souls, a new card, Corvas Bloodthorn, Sightless Watcher, Spectral Sight, Eldrazi Warblades, Coordinated Strike, Eye Beam, a brand new card, Gennaro Glavesmith, Ashtongue Battlelord, Raging Fell Screamer, Chaos Nova, unnerfed / changed Warglaives of Azzinoth, and a brand new new card, Illidari Inquisitor. I almost called it legendary because it kind of is a legendary effect. But so yeah, most of those cards are staying the same. Let's talk about some of the new stuff. Corvas Bloodthorn. This is a 2-mana 2/2 legendary with charge and lifesteal. After you play a card with Outcast, return this to your hand. So what are your impressions about this card and its impact in Wild?
I mean, no wild impact, right? It costs 2 mana, which isn't odd costed, so we can kind of move on. I mean, if you want to get into it, but we can skip if we just want to keep it wild focused.
Yeah, so even probably not going to see a ton of play. It's kind of cute. I can see like an Outcast Miracle Demon Hunter somewhere down the line in a few years, but right now not that great. Another brand new card, Gennaro Glavesmith. This is a 3-mana 3/2 demon. Outcast, give your hero +3 attack. So I'm a little bit excited about this one, but I'm curious to hear your impressions.
Damage. Odd costed, cheap damage. Seems good to me. Like the body's fine. It's very, very, very easy to outcast this in the more aggressive Stilt Stepper lists in Odd Demon Hunter. And yeah, I mean, 3-mana 3/2 have 3 attack. It's just good, right? Like goes face, or it can remove things with tempo.
Yeah, so I think you run this in both like the mid-range Demon Hunter builds if you're still running those lists, or you're running like the super 1-drop heavy focus. I think you run it in both.
Yeah, probably. I'm not entirely sure whether you run it in that more mid-rangey one, but I don't even know if that's like a deck anymore. To be quite frank.
I mean, let's talk about it, right? Like in combination with the next card, Warglaives of Azzinoth. So you guys might remember this as like kind of the top end that terrorized Demon Hunter. Terrorized the wild meta back in the day of Demon Hunter, rather. So it's back at 5 mana, except it's a 3-mana 3/3 rather than a 3/4. So you knock off one of the durabilities, but you still kind of have that super impactful, potentially swing the board back into your favor with a couple hits and then go face. So I think with the Warglaives and maybe the Gennargs, you might notice there's no Glaive Bound Adept in this core set, and so that might be rotating and getting unnerfed for Wild. So I don't know, I can maybe see like a more mid-rangey build of Demon Hunter because you also have like the soul package, right, with the 1/3, the 3/4, and the 5/5 that gives you hero +5 attack. So, and I've had success with that. I mean, I think the 1-drop centric build is a little bit better, but I think the Warglaives plus the Gennaro plus maybe Adept might mean that mid-rangey build is also a viable way to play Odd Demon Hunter.
Yeah, potentially. I think as a standalone card, this is actually not very good. It might look like it's not that big of a deal, just the 1 durability, but I think it's actually a pretty significant deal, right? Like it's 25% of what the card used to do when we used to play it. And so, yeah, I actually don't think, based on what we know right now, I really don't see the more mid-rangey style coming back with Adept. I think it's going to continue to lean towards that very low-cost, aggressive build.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat, but I always like to keep options open, you know. Sure. And then, last but not least, we've got Illidari Inquisitor. This is an 8-mana 8/8 demon with Rush. After your hero attacks an enemy, this attacks it too. So that includes the face. That includes you play this. It gets to attack a minion, and then you get to clear a taunt, and then you hear a power face, and then this also gets to hit face. This seems like just a straight up better King Crush in a class with the ability to take advantage of it, but it costs 8 mana, so it probably will not see play in our format, at least for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, someday maybe we'll be able to play Fell. What's it called? Fell Scream, the 4-mana 4/4. Your next demon costs 2 less. Yeah, that's like a powerful thing that we could do, and sort of an aggro mid-range thing, but not for a few years. We'll have to wait on that one.
Yeah, M'Baku rules Demon Hunter yet again. All right, so let's move on to Druid. So the Druid cards, we've got Innervate as a nature spell. Pounce making a comeback. Enchanted Raven. Mark of the Wild now gives a minion taunt and +2/+3 rather than +2/+2. Power of the Wild. Feral Rage. Landscaping is back into the core set. Wild Growth. A brand new card, Nordrasil Druid. I'm sure I butchered that name. But it's a 4-mana 3/5 with a battle cry. The next spell you cast this turn costs 3 less. Soul the Forest. Druid of the Claw has been changed. 5-mana 5/4. Choose one, transform it into a 5/4 with Rush or a 5/6 with Taunt, so just slight buffs Druid of the Claw. Force of Nature, this is a card that we were maybe talking about potentially getting reverted. Stays in Standard as a 5-mana spell, summon 3/2/2 Treants. Menagerie Warden, this is a card we already knew, 5-mana 4/4. Choose a friendly beast, summon a copy of it. Nourish stays in Standard, so this means Nourish is not getting reverted. I know a lot of people were expecting kind of this one to potentially get unnerfed, but this is staying in Standard, 6-mana spell. Ancient of War, 5-mana 5/5, the good old Ancient of War. And then Cenarius, same Cenarius, but instead of 9 mana, it is now 8. So, I mean, let's just talk about kind of Wild Growth and Nourish, first of all. I mean, are you a little bit disappointed that these didn't, at least Nourish, kind of rotate to Wild and get unnerfed?
No, I wouldn't say I'm disappointed. I think like Wild Growth in particular was something that I was actually dreading a little bit. Like I really hoped that wasn't the thing that happened. So Wild Growth remaining in the core set at its current cost seems fine. It's played in Standard right now. So it's, you know, that's a good benchmark, right? As for Nourish, like we already have Overgrowth. I'm not actually sure whether 5-mana Nourish would have done a ton to the format. So I don't know. I was never like super big into the ramp Druid cards for that long of a time, so I wasn't too sad to see this one here.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, I kind of had written off Nourish as like coming back though, and so
yeah, I thought it was like, just to make clear, like I thought that Nourish was very likely to get rotated and reverted.
Yeah, but it turns out they like it in Standard.
Yeah.
Does Overgrowth rotate this year? Like, does it rotate? Or
no, Overgrowth will be staying in Standard.
Nice. Okay. Well, I mean, maybe not nice if you're Standard Druid players. Playing against Druid, I guess just to say. And then, I mean, Druid of the Claw scenarios, I know they're getting nice little buffs, but I still don't think that they're wild playable. Mark of the Wild getting a buff. Maybe it will now be picked once off of Zeph rather than literally never.
I think Wild's low-key pretty good.
Really? You think the +1 health makes that big of a difference in your eyes?
It's a really good buff. 2 mana for 2/3 stats as a buff is really quite strong. Like, there's nothing that's really given that stat line. Usually it's 2/2 with slight upside, right? With a Hand of Adal, Mark of Visage, things like that. Extra Arms was another one that was like a 2-mana 2/2, but you got the extra thingy. This is giving the extra health and taunt. Like, it's very well statted. I don't know if it's probably a little bit too heavy for like aggro druid, but I can definitely see this thing play in more of an aggro mid-rangey. Like maybe we've talked about the idea of like an aggro druid that extended the curve a little bit with Arbor up. I think this is a card that people might glance over completely, but I actually think it's quite strong potentially.
I'm really having trouble in envisioning this aggro druid. I've been messing around a little bit with aggro druid with like Arbor ups, but I've been like primarily playing it kind of the same build, just replacing the roars with Arbor ups, which has been good.
Yeah.
But I don't really envision a spot for Mark of the Wild in that deck. But maybe you're right. Maybe we do slow down even a little bit more and kind of go in on the buffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a 5-star card in Wild, but I also think this would be something that people like glance over completely, whereas I don't think that's the case. Like, this is a very strong buff card. Very, very strong, I think.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There's a chance, dude. There's always a chance. But yeah.
All right, and let's talk about the one new Druid card, Nordrassil Druid, 4 mana, 3/5, Battlecry. Your next spell, cast this turn, costs 3 less. So it's like some sort of like combo-y potential, but it does cost 4 mana, which means it gets pulled off of Oaken Summons, which means that it automatically gets lowered in power level like drastically already by the time you even start looking at the effect on the card. I mean,
yeah,
you in the same boat?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like weaker than like Arcane Tyrant or Anubisat Defender, and 4 mana, which makes it even worse. So, yep.
Yep. All right. So let's move on to Hunter. Hunter's got some interesting stuff to talk about. So Arcane Shot, Lock and Load is now 1 mana. Tracking has been changed. So tracking is now a 1 mana spell. Discover a card from your deck. This one may be one we want to talk about because I think a lot of people had mixed feelings about this. Web Spinner is back in Standard. Explosive Trap, Freezing Trap, Headhunter's Hatchet. So the 2 mana 2/2 weapon. It gains the durability if you control a beast. Quick Shot is back in Standard. Hyena, a brand new card, Selective Breeder. 2 mana 1/1 Battlecry. Discover a copy of a beast in your deck. Snake Trap, Bear Shark, Deadly Shot, Dire Frenzy, Savannah Highmane, and King Crush. So let's go ahead and start off talking about. Let's talk about 1 mana tracking. So tracking used to be, pick 1 out of the 3 and the other 2 go away. They're no longer in your deck. This is not a copy of a card. It does discover a card, basically draws it from your deck. I mean, I think on the surface, a lot of people are going to think this is a little bit better. What are your opinions about tracking?
I have a little bit of a mixed response to this. I think like the text is a lot more in line, right? Mm-hmm. It makes a lot more sense with Hearthstone speak. So that's good. I do think that in terms of power level, I mean, probably slightly weaker on average, like for the most of the Hunter decks that would look to play it. Just because often the cards that you discard, you probably didn't want them anyway, right? Yeah. Otherwise you would have picked them. So like on average, your deck probably, like if you sort of filter through, I don't know, it's kind of a weird way of thinking about it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't mind this change at all either way.
I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat, right? Where I think the thinning of your deck, I don't even know if that's the right word, but like I think that was a very underrated aspect of tracking, and I think the reason they made this change is now tracking is a lot more beginner friendly than it used to be, right? Because I think a lot of people thought tracking was a bad card because you lost 2 cards out of your deck, and I think a lot of people didn't recognize just the power of a 1 mana draw card,
Yeah. It is kind of a shame because that is a little bit of a learning point for a lot of people, mm-hmm. right? The idea of, milling a card and what that actually means and whether it actually is a downside or an upside.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a little bit of a shame. But it's kind of like when you update the text on these old lifesteal cards to give them lifesteal. Like, it just makes a lot of sense to update what the card says, I think, the current Hearthstone.
I mean, I think overall it's a positive change. Like for the game, I think the card itself a little bit weaker. A card that's definitely not weaker is Lock and Load. Went from 2 mana to 1 mana, which makes it a lot easier to combo off when you're big, insane, powerful swing turns. So for those of you guys that love to play your meme Lock and Load Yogg Hunter builds, you guys are very, very excited. I'm very interested in this coming back to the core set, but maybe that's a discussion for a different day. So let's talk about the brand new Hunter card, Selective Breeder. Discover a copy of a beast in your deck.
Yeah, I don't think this is doing much for wild. Very very low tempo, and yeah.
I feel like tempo is the only thing Hunter has going for it. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so Hunter
Yeah.
not making off great unless you love playing Yaga mode.
I guess you get to play Zul'jin with tracking now. That's like the one thing. If you're a Zul'jin fan, you get to actually play tracking in your deck.
Yeah, but then you're getting to 10 mana as Hunter, which is like.
Well, if you're a Zul'jin fan, I mean, is winning the highest concern?
Fair point. All right, yes, tracking I guess is much better with Zul'jin. It is probably much worse in your super aggressive or combo Hunter builds. I think we can. That's probably our general consensus on tracking.
Sure.
All right, Mage. So Babbling Book, Shooting Star, Snap Freeze is now 1 mana instead of 2. Arcanologist is in standard. Fallen Hero, Arcane Intellect. Cone of Cold is now 3 mana. And then you have your Secret Suite of Counterspell, Ice Barrier, Mirror Entity, Fireball, Water Ellie. Brand new legendary. I'm going to mispronounce this name. I think it's Egwin, the Guardian.
Sure. Yeah, whatever you say, Meowth. I'll
whatever it is. It's a pretty cool card, actually, I think. 5 mana, 5/5, spell damage +2. Death Rattle. The next minion you draw inherits these powers. So I don't know if it inherits the Death Rattle, but it inherits the spell damage +2.
My understanding is it inherits the text, basically. I don't know why it doesn't say text, but I think it will inherit the Death Rattle.
Okay, so you basically get to chain spell damage. We'll talk about this card probably first, because I think it's a really cool card. Ethereal Conjure, 5 mana, 6/4, so this is a slight buff on the health. Koldara Drake, back in standard, 6 mana, 6/7. And then Flame Strike, 7 mana, deal 5 to all enemy minions. So yeah, nothing brand new here. Slight buffs to a couple cards.
Sorry, I was just looking up the Death Rattle thing. It seems like most people think it does the Death Rattle as the.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I was looking that up.
No, you're good. You're good. I mean, do you want to talk about Egwin? Let's talk about Egwin. Okay, so
you go wherever.
So the next minion, like when this dies, the next minion. So it's like Greybow effect, but for the next card you draw.
Yeah.
Kind of, or like what's the Paladin card? There's a Paladin Dragon. It's the same thing.
I was thinking of Valinir. Don't worry.
Oh, I mean that's probably a better card than the card I'm thinking about. But yeah, okay. Spell Damage Mage is a very real deck in Standard. I think it's a fringe playable deck in Wild. I think Egwin, like 5 mana 5/5s are Wild playable if the effect is strong enough. So I think the thing is the effect on Egwin strong enough in your opinion for Wild?
Yeah, I reminded a lot of Lothraxion. Where you play out this like 5 mana 5/5, it's kind of crappy, but like once you do, you start doing very stupid things. Having not quite permanent spell damage +2, but basically like if your minions are relatively cheap, you basically have like perma spell damage +2 on the board, and you can start doing this very stupid thing. So, the Wild deck that this goes in. It's tough to envision it, but very cool card, very funky card, like a little weird for the core set, but sure, like let's roll with it.
I'm all for it, dude. I am all for it.
Yeah, I'm into this. Yeah, like I'm just picturing like a lab partner, you know, like you draw a lab partner. It's like a 1 mana spell damage +3. Like you can do this yuck things with that.
I mean, I'm just imagining like the standard spell damage curve, and like you top out at Jandis, Raz, Egwin. And then you have double Fireball, probably some torches, and then like the good spell damage minions. I'm just imagining like that actually maybe being a very viable deck. It probably is not anywhere, doesn't hold a torch to Secret Mage, pun intended, but I can see it being a very real competitive deck, which is kind of cool.
Do you want to play odd spell damage Mage, Meow?
Oh. Yes.
Is that a thing?
Yes, I do.
Yeah?
Now
right,
I do,
cool.
for sure.
Yeah.
All right, and then let's talk about Cone of Cold and Snap Freeze. These are the cheaper freeze effects. I think they each got a 1 mana knocked off of them with kind of the new Frost spell school, I think is the name. I mean, so cheaper freeze effects, I don't know if these are playable in Wild. Like, Cone of Cold was never really a consideration at 4.
I mean, it's Nova. Like you basically considered it a Frost Nova for the most part. And so having access to 4 Frost Novas, like that's a lot of stall. Like that's there's a lot going on there, especially when you throw in the ice blocks. So yeah,
So you're saying Mizaki Mage buff?
Yeah, Mizaki, Freeze, like all those types of decks. Like it's a nice foundation for that, I'd say. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know about Snap Freeze though. Am I crazy? Like 1 mana freeze a minion, which is fine. If it's already frozen, destroy it. If you have access to so much freeze with like Ray of Frost.
I was just thinking like Mizaki Mage. Yeah, Mizaki Mage, double Nova, Ray of Frost, double Snap Freeze. Like
is double Snap is this card just like fine in that deck?
I think crazy? So. I mean, do you have? I guess you have the space for the removal tool. I don't know the Mizaki Mage deck list. I haven't played the deck.
You might not have space. Yeah, I'm trying to, I guess, judge the card a little bit more by itself because we don't know what it's gonna look like, right? Yeah. But I just think it's good to try and reassess on these cards that we previously just completely dismissed. Like trashed. Yeah, and it's good to just like refresh. Like, oh, maybe Snap Freeze is actually it's pretty flexible, right? And it's fantastic. With a cheap freeze effect.
I think it's a little bit worse than Ray of Frost, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad card because Ray of Frost is kind of like absolutely bonkers. And so, like, I agree with you. I think Snap Freeze, I think what you might do is you might make room for this card in the Mizaki Mage. Like, even if you don't have the space, it might be good enough that you make room for it.
Oh, and always Mouth, super good in Quest Mage off random hits. I just like to remind you of that anytime I get the chance.
Yes, all the random mana discounts on these new cards are very, very good for Quest Mage. Unfortunately, it's okay. Quest Mage needs all the help it can get, right? So let's talk about Paladin, another class that probably didn't need a lot of the help that it's getting with this brand new core set. So Paladin, let's run through these real quick. Avenge, Noble Sacrifice, and a brand new secret called Reckoning. After an enemy minion deals 3 or more damage, destroy it. We'll talk a little bit about the specifics in a bit. Righteous Protector, Argent Protector, Holy Light, a new card, Pursuit of Justice, 2 mana spell, give +1 attack to Silverhand recruits you summon this game. 3 mana, 3/3 Aldor Peacekeeper, 3 mana Equality, 3 mana Warhorse Trainer, 3/4 stats instead of 2/4. Blessing King's Consecration, True Silver Champion, Stand Against Darkness, brand new buffed Guardian of Kings, 7 mana 5/7 Taunt, Battlecry, restore 6 health to your hero, and Tyrion Fordring. So there's a lot to talk about in Paladin.
There were 2 buffs as well with the cards that didn't rotate. Argent Protector is now a 3/2, and Holy Light now restores 8 health instead of 6.
Oh, I completely missed those. Yes, Argent Protector 3/2 compared to 2/2, and Holy Light 8 instead of 6. Yes, true. Okay, I mean, I want to start with a little bit of kind of the big thing that stood out to me when I was looking at the core set this afternoon. Odd Paladin getting a couple of brand new huge buffs. I mean, not brand new because Warhorse Trainer's in the deck, but a quality of 3 mana. I mean, this is something we were talking about on our last podcast episode 2 weeks ago. Where we were like, okay, I hope they don't go to 3 because that gives Odd Paladin an extremely strong tool against some of these meta decks like Big Priest and Darkly Warlock. So they did make a quality 3. I think we're at the point where, like, in the current metagame, I would run Equality and Odd Paladin because there's a lot of Darkly Warlock and there's a lot of Big Priest. And so, I mean, kind of yikes. I think this is not an auto include, but like a tech include in the Odd Paladin decks.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think it's just very meta dependent, right? Like the more aggressive the meta is and the less tall the opponent goes, then the worse this is. So it's very good, like insanely good into spreading plague if they ever like get that out early. That's really nice. Void Lords, you said Big Priest, but it's not like that proactive. So it's like horrific in other aggressive matchups all the time. So yeah, just the medical. It's something that Paladin's very happy to have access to, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's sort of defaulted as a one-of a lot of the time, where people just like to have it.
Yeah, I think you run it in a lot of the matchups that you want, like Divine Favor, right? So if you're like messing around with your Odd Paladin builds related to the meta, whenever you're bringing in Divine Favors, you're probably bringing in Equalities as well. And then Warhorse Trainer, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I was gonna say like it's a lot better than like Owl, for example, and some people like to tech in 1 Owl here and there.
Yeah, and then Warhorse Trainer, 3 mana 3/4. I mean, there's nothing really much to say here. You were already running Warhorse Trainer because it was a very strong effect. And now it's much more likely to stick if you have to tempo it out on turn 3. So yeah, I mean,
the 2 attack always felt so annoying.
Yeah.
Warhorse, because it just got traded into so cleanly sometimes. I hated that. And now it just doesn't. Now it's like really, really good and aggressive. So.
And it's even better with Broomstick. Oh yes. So
yeah.
No, but like Odd Paladin getting a couple nice quality buffs here. I think Odd Paladin, already one of the best decks in the format, and getting a little bit better. And then 2 brand new cards. So let's talk about Pursuit of Justice real quick. 2 mana Holy Spell. Give +1 attack to your Silverhand recruits you summon this game. So this is probably like it's like a passive effect, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Similar to like Lothraxian. You probably do you run this in your dude paladin, like your pure dudes? It is 2 mana, no immediate impact, right? Unless you have dudes on the board already.
I get like Dynamancy flashbacks, and that's very like I don't like thinking about that where I'm paying 2 mana to do nothing. But it's not really nothing, right? Because if you do have some dudes on board, then it's like it's a weak, like a very weak tempo play. But I don't know. Generally with recruits, you're much more concerned about buffing the health than the attack. That allows you to like make more cleaner trades and things, and just like dodge from AoE. I don't know how to feel about this. You don't play it in like even pally. Someone mentioned that, but I think you get enough dudes as soon as you're going. But in like a pure list, maybe. Not sure.
Maybe. I don't think the pure lists have been explored enough. Anyways, I think outside of you, like the first week of the expansion. So.
Oh, what a week!
So I mean, I'm interested. I don't think it's insanely strong, but I also like if you play this on turn 2 and then you muster on 3, and then you like stack it on a blue merchant on 4, and then you stand on 5. Like it feels like very snowbally if you have it on like on 2, or you have it when you already have like you played muster and then you play like something plus Pursuit of Justice on like 4, right? Like it feels like it has super snowbally potential.
Yeah,
if you can deal with the 2 mana.
Yeah, if you can. If that tempo loss isn't bad, like if you do use it as like a little mini buff after you played muster, then it's okay. And so it's just like managing that tempo loss, because the extra attack, like you can add up pretty quickly, right? Like how many recruits do you play over a game as dude paladin? Like you might get out 10 of them on average, and so it becomes like 2 mana plus 10. It's just like a very very like a very crude version of mana math and like crude version of stats, but I mean, that's what it is, right? Like, you end up getting a lot of benefit over the next few turns and the whole game. So, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I think something to explore, right? I think is kind of the big thing here with that. And then let's talk about the secret, Reckoning. After an enemy minion destroys 3 or deals 3 or more damage, destroy it. So this will destroy your opponent's Flak Mage. I mean, maybe at that point, the Flak Mage has already done enough damage, so it doesn't matter if you destroy the Flak Mage. But also, like, Spawn of Shadows. Like, it'll destroy Spawn of Shadows. When it deals 4 to your face. Again, at that point, if they're playing Spawn, maybe you're already dead. But, I mean, I think this is just kind of a very, very powerful card. And outside of, like, pure Secret Paladin builds, I'm not sure it has a place currently. Because I don't know if you want this in Odd Paladin. But what is your take on Reckoning? Do you agree, first of all, that it's a very strong card?
Oh, I think this is busted. I'm a little confused. I think this card is so good. I don't entirely understand
why it's so good.
I just don't like it. Just seems so. I don't know. It's kind of like my reaction a little bit to Oh My Yog, whereas like after sort of settling on the idea that Oh My Yog is good, it's like, isn't this just like a 1 mana counterspell all the time? And to me, it's like, oh, isn't Reckoning just like a 1 mana destroy a good card a lot of the time from your opponent? I don't know. It seems ridiculously efficient. Whatever it's trying to do, so good against things like not just like onboard trades, but the fact that you can kill off whatever your smallest things are from the opponent. You can like narrow down a big minion. It's kind of like a 1 mana freezing trap in some sense.
It's much more than a freezing trap. It's just like a 1 mana vape that you can target, kind of.
Yeah, like if you can narrow a board, like you can kill off a 2/1, all of a sudden just leave them with a Kieran Tor. Like the Kieran Tor can't trade with any of your things, otherwise it just dies. Like 1 mana. Yeah, I don't know. That's like where it fits in. I don't know whether it actually fits in Odd Pally or not. Like despite the fact that the card's really good. But it's another big boost to the whole like secret archetype in general, and we'll see. It seems like they're gonna lean into that a little bit.
Yeah. That's the vibe I'm getting. I think it's a very powerful card. The fact that this is a 1 mana secret is kind of like, I could totally have seen this being like a mage secret and like been okay with that, I think, which is kind of nuts that it's a 1 mana secret. but like you also said, I don't really know where this currently fits in into the wild landscape. All right, so let's move on to Priest. So Priest, even after their rework last year, has a bunch of brand new cards to talk about. So let's go through their core set real quick. Crimson Clergy, this is a brand new 1-drop, 1 mana 1/3. After a friendly character is healed, gain +1 attack. Flash Heal is in the core set. Focused Will is a new 1 mana spell. Silence a minion and then give it +3 health. Holy Smite remains, 1 mana, deal 3. Psychic Conjure remains. Cold Tyrant Chaplain remains. Shadow or Death. Shadow Form makes its return back to standard, but I do believe that they have confirmed that the upgrade doesn't make it deal 3. Like if you play Shadow Form again, I believe unofficially, but that's what they've said. Thrive in the Shadows. We talked about this last week. Kind of the pseudo Shadow Visions. Light Spawn is now a 3 mana 0/4. Shadowed Spirit, 3 mana 4/3. Death Rattle, deal 3 damage to the enemy hero. Holy Nova. Power Infusion, Shadowed Ruin, Temple Enforcer, and Natalie's Selene all remain. So even after the rework, Priest got a bunch of brand new cards. So let's talk about the new ones we haven't talked about yet. Crimson Clergy, 1 mana 1/3. After friendly characters healed, gain +1 attack. Does this cut it in your Inner Fire Priest list?
I think so. It's very snowbally, and it's got a fat butt with 3 health. For just like 1 attack, 1 mana. Yeah, sure. Let's play it in that.
I mean, you were running was the Prime Reliquary, whatever it's called.
We were trying Prime out. We used to play Light Warden in the standard version of that, Fire. And so if you do play a Pyro Circle package, this can pretty easily snowball insanely well in the mid game, and it's also just a really really good turn 1 play. So
I'm assuming it works, but if it's already full health and then you play a Circle of Healing, is it gonna get buffed?
No.
Oh, so
yeah,
it actually needs to be damaged. Okay.
Yeah. Things actually need to get that health benefit.
All right, but I think it's just a solid 1-drop for any sort of aggressive / tempo-y based priest builds. I think you're probably leaning towards playing Crimson Clergy just because you kind of need 1-drops in those decks. Focused Will, 1 mana spell, silence a minion, then give it +3 health. Silence Priest vibes. I think Silence Priest getting some support this year is kind of exciting.
Yeah. Silence Priest isn't that much of a meme that people might think.
Yeah.
Silence Priest is actually a lot closer. I know it's kind of been out of the meta for a very, very long time. But it does do very broken things. And if you get enough support for this kind of archetype, right, enough redundancy and things where those 3 mana 4/8 Razor Leafs are super easy to activate, then yeah, the deck can be actually quite threatening, I think.
That was an excited statement, by the way, about Silence Priest, not a meme statement. I actually genuinely enjoyed Silence Priest. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, cool.
All right, we've already talked about Thrive in the Shadows last week, so let's talk about the last brand new card, Shadowed Spirit. I know this is one that caught your eye. 3 mana 4/3, so pretty aggressively statted. Death Rattle, deal 3 damage to the enemy hero. Is this finally the time? Is 2021 the year of Aggro Priest?
Maybe it's Aggro Priest time. I'm not memeing about this one either. So this card is so stupidly good with a number of cards in the Priest Death Rattle res toolkit. So we're talking about Rally. We're talking about the Twilight summon to 1/1 Death Rattles that died. It's really good with a Psycho Pump. It's just so much damage with those kind of effects, and then you throw in with even more damage with cards like Sand Trooper. Maybe Unnerved Leper Gnome happen. Things like this. All of a sudden, if Rally is reviving 8 damage to your opponent in addition to the tempo, or Psycho Pump is reviving cards that deal 3, Reborn, and then that deals 3. Damage synergizes with damage. And so I think that this is an excellent card for that. I am genuinely a little bit hyped to play Burn Shadow Priest. Didn't think those words were going to come out of my mouth, but I'm very excited.
Is this what Shadow Priest is going to become? Is Shadow Priest Aggro Priest? I would be okay with that.
It's just Face Hunter. But yeah.
Well, you get 2 mana kill command instead of 3 mana kill command. It's automatically better, right? Because you get Mind Blast.
Yeah, we have the new Thrive in the Shadows. We have the original Shadow Visions. We have Mind Blast. We have the redundancy. We just need the tempo of the death rattles and more face. And this is really good face damage. So
I can get behind it. First of all,
told you.
I need you guys to clip this so that you guys can rub it in Corbett's face and say, "Hey, remember when you said Aggro Priest was going to be good?"
Did I?
Or you could also clip it as evidence of like, wow, Corbett knew what he was talking about. Who could have seen that one coming? Yeah. I mean, I'm generally kind of with you. That's kind of exciting that we're unmemeingly talking about Aggro Priest and it not just being a really bad version of Inner Fire Priest,
Yeah, I think burn decks in general are always going to have a little bit of a tough time in Wild by default, just because Reno Jackson exists. Yeah. But there is like a certain point where enough synergy comes together with this type of effects. Like a burn synergizes with burn, and so the more you get, the better everything else just becomes.
Yeah. All right. Enough talking about Priest. Let's move on to Rogue. So the Rogue's core set only has one brand new card, and we already kind of talked about it last week with Vanessa Van Cleef. But let me just kind of run through all of these because a lot of them have gotten buffs. So Backstab, Prep, Shadowstep, Bladed Cultist, Deadly Poison, Cinder Strike, Swashbuckler, Cold Blood remaining at 2 mana. Patient Assassin becomes a 2 mana 1/2 instead of a 2 mana 1/1 with Stealth Poison. Vanessa Van Cleef is a class legendary. Plague Scientist, SI Agent, Assassin's Blade is now a 4 mana 2/5 weapon, which is weird. It's really weird to see Assassin's Blade like this. Weird. Assassinate is 4 mana, Tomb Pillager, and then Sprint is 6. So I kind of want to go ahead and start off with saying I am very surprised that Shadowstep remained in the core set. I thought this was something that was getting the nuke 100%, and it's staying in the core set. So it was very surprising to me. But then we're also seeing Prep and Cold Blood remaining nerfed, I suppose is the right word to say that, and staying in Standard. So that's kind of like the big impressions from Rogue. I mean, Rogue already had, like, historically one of the strongest, like, classic and basic sets, and so it's kind of expected that not much is changing here. Oh my god. But I think the biggest thing to me, like the biggest surprise, was Shadowstep remaining like an actual card.
Yeah, I think that's probably just because Edwin rotated, right? Like Edwin was the current, the current problem child when it came to Shadowstep and what it could do, and they probably just liked a lot of the play pattern that Shadowstep helped create. It hadn't been like, I think Shadowstep is definitely a card that historically it's been one of the problems in Rogue, whether it's with Quest Rogue and kind of opening up that, or the OG Leroy combos, or with Kelliseth. All right, they're all like very degen things, but I guess they just currently like the play pattern that Foxy and Miscreant have given it, and they like what it can do with SI7. And it just feels rogue, and I'm happy with this actually. As someone who's very into the idea that Shadowstep should rotate, I think with Edwin going, it gives it the card a little bit more breathing room, and I'm into this.
I mean, I think you're into it until something else breaks it because Shadowstep's broken.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
And I personally, I would have loved to see them rotate Shadowstep and not have to potentially nerf it down the line.
It is a surprise.
Yeah,
right? You're not wrong.
I mean, maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I do love Shadowstep and I do love this. But I also know that it's a very problematic card, I feel like, design wise, and so I am very surprised that it stayed. But yeah, Rogue, nothing really new, and we already talked about Vanessa Van Cleef. So let's go ahead and move on to Shaman. So Shaman, again, only one brand new card, but we talked about that last week in Novice Zapper. So I'm going to run through this because there are a couple changes. Small buffs, but Lightning Bolt, Novice Zapper, Menacing Nimbus, Rockbiter, Wind Fury, Feral Spirits only overloads 1, Lightning Storm always deals 3, Manatee Totem, Unbound Elemental, Draenei Totem Carver. So this was like played in the Totem Even Shaman builds. Has been buffed to a base 4/5, so it's a Yeti worth of stats instead of a 4/4. Hex, Tidal Surge, Doomhammer, Earth Ellie that overloads 2. Fire Elemental is a 6 mana 6/5 that now deals 4 compared to 3. That also looks extremely weird. And then Alakir, 8 mana 3/6, Charge, Divine Shield, Taunt, Wind Fury, 3/6 instead of 3/5. So Fire Ellie and Alakir look extremely weird. and that's kind of it. We talked about Novice Zapper last week, but kind of first impressions about Shaman.
I'm a little like with Shaman, it got one of the more significant buffs, right? Where they went through and they did like Lightning Storm, Feral Spirit. So Shaman got some of the bigger buffs. It looks like they're very much pushing completely away from the token identity of Shaman. That was like as soon as 2019, they had highlighted in their the design philosophy article that tokens and murlocs were part of Shaman identity, and there's really none of that here. So it does seem like there's been a big shift, right, into this more like spell damagey elemental type stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for Aggro Shaman and maybe Totem Carver and even, but that's like it. I think it's important to note, Lightning Bolt does have the nature tag. We were talking about Brucon last week, I believe, with nature spell damage +3. So, I mean, Lightning Bolt has nature. Fingers crossed, maybe, for Crackle. I don't know if that's if I should be crossing my fingers for that. But like, I think
are you into spell damage aggro Shaman?
That's what I'm leaning towards, man. Lightning Bolts, Novice Zappers, Tunnel Trog, Totem Golem, top out at Brucon and like Squall Hunter maybe, if at that point. But I'm down for it. Give me Aggro Shaman. You took away Odd Shaman, give me Aggro Shaman.
Yeah, we got to reinvent. Do you like Totem Carbon as the 4/5 now? Like it had been kind of a little cut from this for a while.
I mean,
it makes it back in.
I don't think it being a 4/5 kind of solves the issues of why Totem Carver was being cut from those lists, in my opinion. And so I don't think so. But
yeah, probably.
As my initial instinct, we'll see, right? Got to play with it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
I will say I've really been favoring the overload builds of even Shaman a little bit more. With the Cage Match Custodian and Jade Claws package with Thunderhead. But I will note a notable exclusion from this year's core set is Flame Tongue Totem. So speculate away that might be getting unnerved. And if that does get unnerved, I think we 100% go back to the Totem build, right? Because Flame Tongue Totem is a broken card. But
yeah. Well, that's the thing about these, these core set cards. Whenever you hear that there's a classic or a basic card that's been nerfed and it's no longer a revert candidate, this means one of the other ones is more likely. They said we're getting about 30, and so every time that we see the one, maybe that means Flame Tongue.
There was an Ixar tweet today that said many of the core classic and basic cards that aren't here are getting unnerfed. They said that they unnerfed many or most of those. So
yeah, we need that part. So yeah.
So basically, what you can assume is if one of the cards is not here, it's potentially getting unnerved. So I guess Flame Tongue Totem, I think a legitimate candidate, and even Shaman might be getting a huge buff.
Yeah, I think it's very likely at this point. Now that we've seen everything, I think it's very likely that Flame Tongue is getting the revert.
Sweet. All right, now let's talk about the best class. All right, let's talk about Warlock. Come on, dude. The best class, not the worst class. Come on.
Oh, sorry, awkward.
No, I'm just kidding. I can't even say that about Rogue anymore because Rogue's actually like super good right now. Anyways, let's talk about my favorite class, which makes it the best class. Okay. Warlock, brand new card, Ritual of Doom, 0 mana shadow spell. Destroy a friendly minion. Hold on, 0 mana. If you had 5 or more minions, summon a 5/5 demon. We'll talk about this one. I think it's definitely worth talking about. We've got Flame Imp, Mortal Coil, Possessed Villager. Drain Soul's getting a buff. 2 mana, deal 3 with Lifesteal now instead of deal 2. Tiny Knight of Evil. Void Terror is baseline 3/4 instead of 3/3. Fiendish Circle, Hellfire, Lakari Foulhound getting a slight buff. 4 mana 3/8 Taunt, Battlecry, discard your 2 lowest cost cards. It used to just be discard 2 cards. Fell Soul Jailer, 5 mana 4/6. We talked about this last week. Siphon Soul is actually 5 mana now. Dread Infernal, new card, Enslaved Fell Lord, 7 mana 4/10 Demon with Taunt. Also damages the minions next to whomever this attacks. Twisting Nether, and then the most important change of all, Lord of Jaraxxus is now officially a hero card. It's the same weapon, same hero power, but it no longer sets your HP to 15. It gives you the 5 armor like every other hero card. The most important and the best change of them all. So let's talk about Ritual of Doom. I think that's the one that a lot of people were whispering about. 0 mana destroy friendly minion. So 0 mana destroy your Void Caller or a Carnivorous Cube, or if you're playing the super wide token Zoo, 0 mana summon a 5/5. I mean, a lot of people are hyping up this card. What are your thoughts about it?
It's bad. It's trash. I mean, is this getting hype? I haven't heard this. On first impression, I'm not intrigued by Ritual of Doom. I'm not invested in this one.
Are you not invested by the fact that it's 0 mana killer friendly instead of 1? Right? Like, I know.
Yeah,
you're not...
I don't.
No.
Nah, I don't care about that part. I really don't. Like, I don't think using a card to kill a thing is actually that important or worth a card slot a lot of time. I think the biggest thing about like Dark Pact was the healing, or Plague of Flames is like, you know, very flexible removal. I don't think like even Sack Pact, the potential upside of being able to destroy an opponent's demon was such a huge deal, and so I don't think we actually want this.
All right. So maybe the hype.
Sorry to kill that hype. Jeez, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. You can go on. Like,
I mean, I'm not like super high on it, just because like that second part, if you have 5 or more summon a 5/5, is like 99.9% of the time irrelevant in Wild, unless you're playing like Galakron Warlock maybe, or like Egg Zoo or something like that.
Yeah, like I guess like Egg Galakron Warlock is probably where I'd say this.
But so I'm looking at it as a 0 mana destroy friendly minion, and I'm not super high on it, but I do think that it's not terrible. I mean, because I'm at the point where like whenever I play key block, I'm just like, shit, dude, Void Caller on 4 feels really slow, you know, and which is kind of insane to say, and I feel like I'm crazy for saying that, but it feels slow, and so for me, 0 mana being able to kill my Void Caller immediately or kill my cube immediately doesn't sound terrible. I mean, I don't think this is good, right? Like I don't think it makes its way into key block lists, but I wouldn't be surprised if it eventually did. I think is maybe my initial reservations. Like I'm only thinking about it in key block. I don't know any combo potential, and I don't think like Token Zoo is currently not a thing, and I don't know that this makes it a thing. So I'm gonna kind of disregard that for now, but yeah, I mean, I like you were kind of keep an eye out for Mark of the Wild. Maybe I think maybe keep an eye out for Ritual of Doom. Might be my impression. But let's talk about a card that I think we know is going to be strong. Drain Soul. This is basically Penance in Warlock. Yeah, because Warlock needed all the help. I think the question is, do you just replace Spellstones and Darkglow Warlock with this card? Because it's cheap. It's half the cost.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you get like 4 less healing, but for like 2 less mana. It's much more flexible. Probably. I mean, you probably replace it. Yeah. I mean, you play this card in every Warlock.
Probably.
Every Warlock, basically. I mean, maybe
any
like
slower
not Disco.
Warlock. Any slower.
Yeah,
Warlock.
not Disco, but anything that's Dark Glare or slower, right? Like that.
You say Dark Glare is slower, and Dark Glare is like giant on turn 4, but
yeah, so it's pretty much this card, like, you know, the pure aggro decks. But yeah, absolutely filthy in Reno Cube, Dark Glare. Yeah, good card, mental.
Lucari Fellhound. I think the fact that it now discards 2 lowest cards means that you can target your discard, which I think is a big thing. I don't know if it makes it good enough, but I have been at the point when the meta was infested with stuff like Pirate Warriors and Rogues, where I wanted the additional taunts, because right now in discard the only taunts you have are Voidwalker, and I think a 4-mana 3/8, if you're running stuff like Bone Web Eggs as well, I think the Fellhound or Fellhound is like a legitimate tech option, but I don't know if it becomes like a staple in discard seas.
Yeah, I think it probably makes the cut now. I think it's like a very, very small. Yeah, potentially. Like right on the cusp.
I think it's that like 29th, 30th card in the list.
Yeah, I can see that. I think it's a slight buff, and it's a card that I thought was currently not quite good enough. So a slight buff probably makes it just slightly good enough. But I think it also hints to the fact that they'll probably print more low cost synergy payoffs for discarding, because currently you have like Hand of Gul'dan, right? And so I think they might lean more into like the Bone Wet Egg type cards where low cost discard payoffs are a thing.
And I think we can see that it's coming because Tiny Knight of Evil is back on the core set as well. So
yeah, exactly.
Leaning towards something like that. I think in the future, I also think that they're moving more away from this random discard and more towards this.
Oh yeah,
you know what you're going to discard.
Yeah, it's like Rush. It's like Rush replacing Charge. This is like what it should have always been. This is them like retroactively fixing it. I also think the idea of making your payoffs for these cost cards cheaper as your lowest cost cards in hand is so much better, because the bigger the spell or minion or whatever that you want to be discarding, it means that like the discard payoff has to be much higher.
Yeah.
And the cheaper that you make it, the less extreme it has to be. And so it's kind of just a good thing in general, I think, if they lean towards wanting to discard cheap stuff.
Yeah, I think right now you're probably looking at discarding either like the Fist of Jaraxxus or like the Wicked Whispers are probably the cards you're looking at. Maybe replacing in this. And I think the fact that it's a demon is also nice because Candorthed is a card for some reason. So yeah, I think Lucari Felhunt, it looks like a very small buff, but I think it's a very good buff to the card. It makes it potentially playable in our format.
Makes us feel better. Like, yeah, that's also it.
I mean, that's kind of, it's a big factor, you know? Let's be real. Yeah. And then last but not least, Enslaved Fell Lord, 7 mana, 4/10 taunt demon. Okay. Also damages the minions next to whomever this attacks. So, I mean, the question is this good enough for your Arena Locks, your Cube Locks, your Void Color decks? Do you want a 4/10 taunt that can clean up the board if it gets to survive and hit?
Maybe.
I mean, okay, 10 health is a big butt, all right? 10 health
it's Arena Lock, right?
Yeah.
Like Arena Lock is the deck. It's not that bad to play it out for 7, which is good, right? Like after you do whatever you do in the mid game, you can play a 10 health taunt on turn 7. It's not the worst thing in the universe. If you need to like force it to get it in the Gul'dan pool. So yeah, I mean, Arena Lock's the deck. I don't think you play this in Cube. Wait. Do you play some of Void Lord in Cube? Probably not.
Replacing Void Lords.
Well, I mean, at that point you have Dreadlord and Void and this guy. So it's really like, you can't have all of them. So it's
I think the big thing with this card is it gets worse the longer the game goes on, whereas like Void Lord doesn't necessarily. Like, I think you love seeing this off of Void Collar because if you get to swing with it and clear your opponent's board, you win the game. Right?
Well,
but also if you pull Void Lord on turn 4.
Like, this is so much better into control matchups than Void Lord.
But Void Lord is so much better against aggro.
Yeah, it is. Exactly. So I don't know. That's why I'm not sure. But I think Reno Lock, you probably play this, right? Like, it's another good card to have. You might even be able to play Skull. No,
dude. You run Ticketus in Reno Locks. You can't be running Skull.
That's true.
Not the conversation for this. No. All right. I think the moral of this story, Fell Lord is something to take a look at in your Arena Locks and your Cube Locks. I have hesitations about it, but I think it might be playable, right? It also might be like super meta dependent.
It's a fat demon with taunt. Like, we have to at least consider it at minimum. So.
True. Okay. Let's talk about Warrior. So Warrior got a couple new cards. Probably I think the most out of any class. But let's start off talking about Bloodsail Deckhand. 1 mana, 2/1 Pirate. Battlecry. The next weapon you play costs 1 less. We get Shield Slam back. We get Whirlwind back. Armorsmith. Cruel Taskmaster. Execute remains at 2. Slam. Fiery War Axe remains at 3. Frothing Berserker. Brand new War Cache. Is a spell, 3 mana. Add a random warrior minion, spell, and weapon to your hand. So I think this is very similar to, Hunter's Pack, I think is the name of the card.
Yeah.
We have Warsong Commander remaining in standard. Small little tear dripping down my face right now. 3 mana, 2/3. After you summon another minion, give it Rush. Brand new card, 4 mana, 5/4. Warsong Outrider. So it's just a 4 mana, 5/4 with Rush. Brawl, Shield Maiden, Gorehowl, and Grom. So first of all, Warsong Commander.
Yeah.
No balls, Blizzard. No balls. Come on.
Cowards. They couldn't do it.
I
mean, still good with Patron. Still good with the Grim Patron.
Does it give? It doesn't give all the patrons. No, it's summon. Wait, it does give all
After
the
you
patrons.
summon.
Rush. Never mind. I'm dumb. I can read. Warsong Outrider, 4-mana 5/4 vanilla rush. Not good enough for Wild in my opinion. You are getting a ton of rush minions though. So with like Warsong Commander and like, what's the card? Playmaker. I think that's the new card from.
Oh yeah, the new
Dark
one that get a 1/1 copy or something, or is that
one health minion copy? Yeah. So I think there might be some sort of rush package. I don't know what shell it goes in, like maybe Galakron, but it's getting a lot of tools, and they love printing rush. So I think it's definitely something that's going to get better moving forward. Warcash, we compared this to Hunter's Pack, but I think the big difference is that Warrior actually has a control deck that can use this. I mean, do you run this in Odd Warrior as like value?
No. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's my.
I was reminded of a Mega Assembly for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you want this. 3 mana, get 3 crappy-ish cards.
I'm good.
I
think Vol'jin is a much better card than that if you're trying to look to upgrade your Odd Warriors. But Bloodsail Deckhand. I think this is a card. It's a pirate, first of all. You love to see that tag. I think it's a card that's extremely powerful, except that it's not right now because the current pirate warrior builds only run 1 weapon. But I think it's got that effect, the mana cheating effect, which is super powerful, right? The thing is, a lot of your weapons come attached to minions now, and they're not actually hard-run weapons. So I don't think this card is very good in the current wild environment, but it's definitely something that you keep an eye on moving forward because that effect and the tag are both very, very relevant.
Yeah, the card's super busted. It just just doesn't have the support. Like it would take 1 more weapon. Like if you can run Anchor and 2 weapons, you play this every time. So at the moment we just have Anchor and that's it. It's kind of weird to think about that, right? We're running Pirate Warrior. We only have 1 weapon in the deck. Weird.
All right, hear me out. Next year, core set 2022, they rotate Fire War Axe, make it 2 mana, and then we run Bloodsail Deckhand. 2 mana War Axe plus Inkar.
All right, Meowth, what about this? We play Fiery War Axe currently. We play this on 1, and then we get to equip a 2 mana War Axe. Hey? Hey, 2 mana War Axe?
2 mana Win Axe is back. It makes sense.
Yeah? Reverted?
Unfortunately, I do not think that is good enough for Wild.
Yeah, super busted. Like, this would be great at some.
Okay, so now we're here at the neutrals. There are, I believe, 75 neutrals. I am not going to read all 75 of these. I'm going to spare Corbett's ears, my voice, and all of y'all's listeners' ears. I'm not going to do that. But I think we just kind of want to talk about a lot of the cards that have gotten changed that are kind of standout changes, I think. Or cards that were revert candidates that are remaining in standards, so that means they're not going to get unnerved for a while. So let's start off with Abusive Sergeant, that's remaining a 1 mana 1/1 plus 2 attack. Stone Tusk Boar, Stone Rush Boar, 1 mana 2/1 with Rush, unfortunately. Yikes, sad. Bluegill Warrior, I think maybe this can be the first one we discuss. 2 mana 3/1 Murloc with Rush.
I'm so happy.
I'm a little bit sad. We'll talk about it. A brand new pirate, Fogsail Freebooter, 2 mana 2/2 pirate. Battlecry, if you have a weapon equipped, deal 2 damage. We can talk about this one too. I think this one's very powerful. Moving in, you got a buff to Mini Mage. It's a 3 mana 3/1 instead of a 4 mana 4/1 with stealth and spell damage. Baron Rivendare is in standard. I don't know what kind of spicy Death Rattle synergies we might be getting this year. I think that's hitting at some stuff. Big Game Hunter went from 5 to 4, so they kind of went middle ground on those unnerfs instead of going all the way back to 3. New card, Taylan Fordring. I'm pretty sure I'm butchering that name. Pretty powerful effect though. 5 mana 3/3, Taunt Divine Shield, and Death Rattle. Draw your highest cost minion, so it's going to tutor that highest cost minion from your deck. Anytime you tutor an effect, it's super powerful. Karen getting a slight buff. Both the front and the second half of Karen are 5/5s now compared to 4/5s. Auctioneer is remaining in standard, so no 5 mana Auctioneer in Wild's future, thankfully. High Inquisitor Whitemane, I believe, used to cost 7, is now 6 mana 5/7. Baron Geddon is now a 7-mana 7/7 elemental instead of a 7/5, I believe was what it was.
Yep.
And then we got the rest of the dragon aspects. So we've got Nazdormu the Eternal, one that was creating a little bit of buzz on Twitter this afternoon. A lot of people were excited about this one. 7-mana 8/8 dragon, start of game. If this is in both players' decks, turns are only 15 seconds long. Another one that we're going to come back and talk about. The new Alex Strazza, 9-mana 8/8 dragon, battle cry. Choose a character. If it's a friendly, restore 8 health. If it's an enemy, deal 8. It's a pretty powerful effect, I think, with Alex Strazza. And the new Nixie, 9-mana 8/8. At the beginning of each turn, fill your board with 1/1 whelps. So it's getting Shuma effect, except it costs 9 instead of 7. And then for some reason or another, Clockwork Giant is back in standard.
Sure.
There's some mech synergy that's back in standard for some reason. So another mech expansion coming soon, maybe? It's probably not. But okay, so let's go all the way back. Let's start at 1 mana, or 2 mana rather. Bluegill Warrior, dude. So for those of you guys that don't know the anything combo, basically what you used to do is you would play all your Murlocs out, you would kill them, and then you would play Anything Can Happen, and you would summon 2 Bluegills, 2 War Leaders, and a Murkai, and deal 1 billion damage. And WoW, that has slowly transitioned into a, I don't want to say degenerate combo deck, but kind of a degenerate combo deck where you play Prismatic Lens.
You could say that. I'm letting you say that, yeah.
Prismatic Lens or Allura, and you cheat out a Tip the Scales, where the only Murlocs in your deck are 2 Bluegills, 2 War Leaders, a Murkai, and 2 Grimskill Oracles, for a perfect 30 damage OTK as early as like turn 4.
Yep.
Coined endearingly Lightest Hour. So I'm very happy that Lightest Hour is gone. I'm very sad that my Anything Paladin is gone. I think Tip the Scales was a mistake, Blizzard. That's what I'm hearing from all of this. But I do miss my Anything Paladin decks, like the pure combo variants. I am going to miss it. It was one of my favorite Paladin decks of all time, and it is now no longer playable because Bluegill has Rush.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind those old Anything decks as much, but I absolutely completely hated the Lightest Hour decks. I'm not a big fan of like super high rolly, play 1 card, win the game on turn 4, 5 type games. I don't like that very much. So the fact that this is gone now, very, very happy. And so I don't really care about the mains, to be honest. Like, I don't really care if that was Prismatic Lens or Bluegill. I'm just happy that high roll is gone forever. And I don't think the Anything thing was really realistically making that much of a return. I do get that some people are going to be sad they can't play it,
but Corbett,
it is what it is. For the greater good, Meowth, for the greater good.
But Corbett, WoW is a place where you can go back and play your old decks of yesteryear, and they can always be a thing. Whatever.
Meowth, you can't meme like that. You have to, no. You can't be doing the comment section for them. All right, chat needs to, like, the comments, the YouTube comments, the chat. They need to be able to make that meme.
I'm giving them their content. Come on. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Begrudgingly, I it is sad to see the boy go. I would have much rather Prismatic Lens become like an 8-mana card, and I would have been okay with that. Dude, I got the Clown Paladin with Prismatic Lens too. Like, they've given up on Lightest Hour, and now they're playing Clown. Like, for that deck too, dude. Just delete Prismatic Lens instead of deleting my Bluegill Warrior. All right,
I'd be okay with it.
I've ranted too much about this little Murloc boy. Let's talk about this new pirate that I think is pretty freaking powerful. Fogsail Freebooter, 2-mana 2/2 pirate. If you have a weapon equipped, deal 2. I mean, am I wrong in thinking that this is just like a staple in Kingsbane and Pirate Warrior?
Yep. That seems about right to me. I think it can be a little bit, I don't know, maybe it's fine. I was thinking it might be a little bit awkward in like Kingsbane potentially, but nah, I sort of quickly came around to dismiss that. This is just really, really good.
Yeah. I mean, it's slightly worse than Plunder in my opinion, but like Plunder is kind of nuts, and this can hit face. Plunder can't hit face. So, I mean, I'm on board Fogsail. I think I was really excited about this in Pirate Warrior because I think I've talked to you about this a little bit. Pirate Warrior feels like it's missing like a decent 2-drop, and like it always feels super weak when you don't have Cannon on 2. And this is a 2-drop that, like, you play in his Osphorus Mate. on one, or you upgrade on one, and then you have Foxtail Freebooter as like a playable 2-drop that impacts the board, right? Which I think is extremely relevant, and I think Pirate Warrior is going to be very happy to see Freebooter, maybe even more than Kingsbane, because Kingsbane has Plunder. Pirate Warrior didn't have that, right? So I think it's a little bit more excited to see this.
Yeah, I mean, it's always better than Sharkfin, right? Because if you have a weapon, then instead of getting the 1/1, you get to deal 2. And so on curve, I guess on curve it's worse if you don't have a weapon than Sharkfin. But I mean, it's fine.
I mean,
right?
but
like,
you have double upgrade and double Nazdor's mate, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you're probably very likely to.
And you're hard mulling for weapons plus Inkar, or like 1-drops plus Inkar. So.
Yeah. Okay.
I really like it. I think it's gonna be nuts. I might be wrong, but every time I've played a lot of Pirate Warrior this expansion, and every time I'm just like, dude, Sharkfin Fan sucks. The Bloodsail Raider sucks. Like, it just needs something good on 2 that's not canon. And this, I think, might be it. I think the fact that it like helps impact the board, I think, is also like super relevant.
Yeah, I mean, it does a lot. Like,
yeah,
it does a lot when it's active. It's just about how active is it. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. Something that's always going to be active if you're building a deck around it. Talan Fordring. I'm sure I'm butchering this name, so those of you guys that know WoW lore, please tell me how to pronounce this, because I think we're going to be seeing a lot of it. 5-mana 3/3 Taunt Divine Shield, Death Rattle, draw your highest cost minion. So this can be drawing you your Kronks if you're playing a Galakron deck. You can draw you your Shadowwalks. You can draw you your Death Knights. You can draw you your N'Zoths. It can draw you any specific combo piece that you might want. It looks like a combo-tastic tutor to me.
I mean, this is what Polk Out should have been, right? like
Death Rattle.
Like, realistically. Well, I just mean in terms of not tutoring the whole deck, maybe.
Yeah.
And so just giving you access to the highest cost thing. But yeah, like Polk Out's the obvious comparison. Downside is that, it's prone to silence, like it can be sort of ignored, or transformed, I should say. Whereas the Polk Out effect is immediate. The upside is that there are decks that actually don't want the entire deck put in order. And do just want the highest cost minion. Yeah, Mazaki Mage is a good example. Shadowwalk might be a good example. I'm not sure, but yeah, there are some decks like that. So yeah, tutor effect quite strong. Putting your Pilgrim or Pocket Galaxy on top, kind of a thing we can do maybe.
I think my issue with this is like I'm gonna be playing the dragon version that runs all the expensive dragons because.
Right.
Yeah. No, so you don't really want that in that deck. But I think the real competitive LPGs, it makes sense to put your Pilgrim on top so that you play it on, or your Pocket Galaxy on 7, right? Or this on 8, depending on what.
You put Pilgrim.
And that might be like a legitimate thing because you like play this and then you like draw your Pocket Galaxy, like if you already have your Pilgrim in hand, and then you like play Dragoncaster and play LPG. Oh god, LPG getting on small little buff. I like it. Okay, Nazdormu, 7-mana 8/8, start of the game. If this is in both players' decks, turns are only 15 seconds long. Can I just say, if there is not a Nazdormu tournament on like day 1 of the expansion, I'm going to be very disappointed in everybody.
Yeah, agreed. Are you going to sign up?
Absolutely. Did you know how fast I play? Are you going to sign up? Corbett Rope,
Oh, I've already won the whole tournament. That's how fast I am. It's true.
Press X to doubt. All right, let's talk about the new Alex Strazza, the Lifebender. 9-mana 8/8 Battlecry. Choose a character. If it's friendly, restore 8 health. If it's an enemy, deal 8. So this is kind of the reason that I'm going to be playing dragons in my LPG Mage, because you know me and you know that I love my Cloud Prince loops. Imagine Bran, Alex Strazza, with Potion of Illusion and just deal 32 damage in 1 turn. Like, can you imagine that? Oh, I can imagine it already. It's beautiful.
I'm into it.
I mean, outside of LPG Mage, I don't really know if it's great, except for like off of Dragon Queen Alex Strazza, but
I've seen the idea of like a Alex Druid list where you did the same kind of thing where you went Aviana Kun into like OG Alex into this like Bran and then this or something.
That's a lot of 10s and 9s, like Psych Mode.
I don't know, it needs work, but I mean, I've seen that idea float. I think it's really bad, but yeah.
I mean, so you like doing this instead of Mali, right? Is the assumption?
Yeah, something like that.
I guess we have to specify what Mali now. The OG Mali. Yeah.
True.
God, it's gonna be so annoying. And then yeah, I mean, I think maybe there's something a little bit there. And then something that I'm pretty sure that there is nothing for is a Nixie the Broodmother. This is Fat Shuma, 9 mana 8/8. At the end of each turn, summon your board full of 1/1 whelps. We're a WoW podcast, so I'm not gonna talk a little bit any further about that. But yeah, so that's kind of the highlights, all the new cards from the classic. Dude, this is a core set aimed for standard, but I felt like there was so much for wild, like in terms of new cards, buffed cards that seem wild playable, which I think is more than we were expecting or could potentially ask for, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't the big change, is it? Like, this isn't the massive card revert. This is sort of like the little bit of extra.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely nice to have some of these cards that we can talk about and talk about how they will impact the format. It is like a pleasant surprise kind of situation.
Yeah, this is the massive card revert's going to be your cake. The new expansion is going to be the frosting, and this is a little cherry on top.
Perfect.
Yeah, nice little. I think there's probably 10 cards here that are potentially playable, right? I mean, Egwin, some of the whatever the name of the new Demon Hunter card is. Drain Soul seems much better. The Paladin Secret looks like it has potential. Fellhound has potential. The 2-mana Pirate. Silence Priest might be a thing. You now have a tutor for your combo decks. Equality, Warhorse Trainer. I think that's most of them, right? But that's a lot of changes from something that was supposed to just impact standard. For the most part. So
it's even more than that. It's still like the 1-mana Pirate and Warrior.
Yeah. Moving forward, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot that we can get here.
So what? After going through all of those cards, are you impressions? Do you think this is going to impact Wild? Do you think it's going to have a significant impact? I don't know. I think we might be getting this earlier than the expansion, or it might be dropping at the same time. I'm not actually sure how this is all. They haven't confirmed any of these dates, so I don't know when we're getting this.
I think they might have suggested it's coming not earlier, like it's coming out at the same time.
Same time.
As the expansion,
Ooh,
I think.
Okay.
But not sure. Not sure exactly. Not concerned.
So maybe we get the unnerfs earlier, right? Because those are the that's what happened.
I mean, that's what they did last time.
Yeah.
They did Raza a couple weeks early.
Yeah, but this probably coming with the expansion then. So I mean, when that expansion drops, we're gonna have 370 new cards.
It's gonna be weird.
It's gonna be
There's
insane.
a lot going on.
But yeah, I mean, I think in general there's a lot going on in Wild, and in Hearthstone in general. I think a lot of positive change, positive new cards that are good, which is, I think, maybe something more than we could have expected in years past. But I'm excited. I think I like a lot of these changes. I think the only change that I am sad about is Bluegill, but that's only because I think they should have killed they should kill Lens and not kill my Anyfin. That's my opinion on that. That was the only part of today's news that I was a little bit sad about. And a little bit sad about Warsong because they didn't give us back OG Warsong. But
damn it, I've forgotten that already. All right, unlucky.
I mean, what are your highlights from the new set?
Yeah, so from a Wild perspective, what are the highlights? I mean, the big one is probably, well, the big two. I would say the fact that we have Thrive in the Shadows, so Shadow Visions 2.0.
Oh, I forgot about that card. Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, that will most certainly be making a pretty big impact. And I think Drain Soul, right? Drain Soul is just the penance for Warlock. Is kind of a massive deal. Apart from that, I don't know. There's gonna be random stuff that sees play here and there. The new Malygos could certainly replace Sathrabar in Mali Druid. Because if you just draw a whole bunch of spells, you might not need the extra Malygos effects or something. This might be better in general.
I can see that. That's cute.
You could also play in Jade Druid. You might be able to play Breath of Dreams. So I don't know. I think those two first cards that I mentioned are the big ones. I think that the Warrior Pirate has some of the more long-term implications because the card is just super busted as an aggro 1-drop in an established archetype. So we'll see how that looks in an expansion, or maybe this expansion. Maybe it's good when they just get a single weapon. And yeah, I guess the equality is one to keep an eye on the Warhorse Trainer as well. But yeah, it's kind of a lot. There's a lot here for not that much. Not that much to be expected. We got a lot here.
Yeah, I think my bar at least, was relatively low for the core set, and it kind of blew away my expectations. So, props to Blizzard. I think this will actually have a significant impact on Wild. So yeah, that's going to be it for us today, though. So you guys that are listening or watching us on YouTube, make sure that you guys leave us a comment talking about what you guys are looking forward to the most, or what you hate the most, Bluegill, from this brand new core set. What are your highlights? Let us know down in the comments below. And again, if you guys enjoy our content, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. And speaking of things that I like, Corbett, thank you so much for joining me. Oh, that transition was clean. Thank you so much for joining me, dude. How are you? Let the people know where they can find you.
Guys, you can find me at CorbettGames on Twitter and Twitch and YouTube and all the good places there. So that's CorbettGames, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in, listening, and watching.
Yeah, you guys can find me. You obviously know where my YouTube is. You can find me on Twitter and Twitch at the same name as well. And just a reminder that you can catch the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all your podcast distributors if you guys want to listen on the go. So we hope you guys enjoyed. We hope you're having a good one. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you guys next time. Later.